Hey everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. This may be the latest I've ever gone live to accommodate a guest in another country, and it is my first guest from Malaysia. She's going to be making a delicious tom yum soup. It's going to be not only vegan, but raw vegan. Please welcome to the show, raw Chef Yin. It's very nice to meet you.
Hi, Chef AJ. Thanks so much for having me on your show. Great to be here.
I'm so excited because I love tom yum soup and I had no idea you could make it raw.
Yeah, I developed a few Thai recipes over the years, and this is one of my favorites. So I wanted to put it in the ebook from the bundle. Yeah, and it's very, very popular in Malaysia as well, since we're next to Thailand. Yeah.
How long have you been vegan and how long raw vegan? And I'd love to hear your story, how you were introduced to it.
Okay, so this is quite funny. I kind of like accidentally went into it. So in 2014, I had just bought an ice cream maker and I was trying to look for a healthy ice cream recipe. So, I was online Googling and all that. And then I found this blog called This Rawsome Vegan Life. I don't know whether you've heard of the blog before. Yeah, Emily, right? And she had a picture of a raw vegan lasagna. And that was my first time actually seeing a raw vegan lasagna. I know it's quite common within the raw food world, but for me, way back in 2014, when there are no raw food restaurants in Malaysia, and I've never heard of the word raw food or vegan actually. I knew what vegetarian was, but I didn't know what vegan was at that time. I just saw that recipe and I thought like, wow, this looks really interesting. And then I started, and then I realized that I have all the ingredients in my fridge. So I decided to try it out and make that recipe. And it took me 2 hours to make it because I've never made anything like that before. And I had like a tiny little food processor. But the thing was, it tasted so good. And I was like, oh, this doesn't have any meat. It doesn't have, and it's just all plants and it's not even cooked. And it tasted amazing. But what really hit me was how I felt because I usually feel very sluggish and tired after eating cooked food, but this one was raw. So it was like, whoa, there was so much energy and I felt so alive and it really just totally blew my mind. So I started doing more research and I realized like, oh, it's raw vegan food. And that's what's giving you the energy and the vitality and the nourishment and all that. So, and then I just kind of like started making a lot of raw food, like just from recipes online. And it's really funny because my boyfriend had to eat most of it. And then sometimes it was a hit and miss, sometimes it was good, sometimes like really bad. So, and then I found Matthew Kenny. So, so I did the first Matthew Kenny course online in 2015. And then that made me even more interested in raw food. I kept making food all the time. I wasn't a chef yet. I was helping my boyfriend with his music business. I still help him with that, but now I'm more focused on this. And then in 2016, Matthew Kenny opened his culinary school in Thailand. So I went to Thailand and took 2 more courses. And then when I came back, people were, oh, I know, I started an Instagram page just to record my journey, that's all. And people were very fascinated. They were like, what's this? What's this raw? How can you make this? And they wanted to learn. So and a few people started asking me to teach and I started doing that. I loved it. And then I started doing some pop-ups as well. And companies started coming to me, asking me to do demos and workshops, people selling their Excalibur dehydrator. They're like, oh, can you come in and do demos for our, at our showrooms and all that. So yeah. And then I started doing courses because of the pandemic. I started making courses and ebooks and here I am.
That's incredible. So one meal basically turned you into a raw vegan.
Yeah. So I'm not 100% raw. So right now I do breakfast raw and dinner raw. Lunch, about 2 to 3 times a week, I have something cooked, like maybe a bit of rice, and then the rest are raw. So yeah, I'm not like fully, but I need to say this as well. I also forgot to mention this. The other thing is I was suffering from eczema for over 30 years. And I had it on my fingers, I had it on my toes. and it was really painful. It was very itchy. I went to countless skin specialists, doctors. No one could help me. No one could help me heal. I tried traditional Chinese medicine, that did not work. I tried Ayurvedic medicine, that did not work. I also tried just like home remedies like bananas, papaya skins, wrapped around your feet and all that. That did not work. But I realized that when I started eating raw vegan food, my eczema just healed. It cleared up. And I was like, I'm not going back after that. I'm just like, no way am I going to eat any more meat and dairy and seafood and all that. So, yeah.
Did you ever hear of raw food or veganism before this time, before
So
2012?
it's interesting because I remember in early 2014, I happened to be, I was in the US for a trip, and I did eat at Cafe Gratitude. And I believe I had some of their raw food. I just didn't think of it as raw food. To me, it was like, oh, this is really healthy, cool stuff that I like to eat. So I started cutting down on meat, in the early 1992, 93, I think. Yeah, when I was in my 20s, and I read about how meat consumption is actually not good for your body. But I didn't cut down on everything. I mean, like I kind of cut down on chicken and beef, that kind of thing. But I was still eating fish because I thought I needed it for the protein. And yeah, so I kind of heard about. Oh yes, I heard about veganism because of PETA. Yeah, and I would see people making, protesting, or like, ladies in mermaid costumes. I think not mermaid costume, but they're lying around and making the protest. But I couldn't see the connection. Vegetarianism is very big in Malaysia, so yeah, we have huge vegetarian communities. But at that time, not so much of veganism. Yeah, but yeah, when I started learning how to make it, and then I started. And then I realized that there is actually a vegan community in Malaysia. So I started going for their meetups, and I joined them and all that. And there's a support group. There are people. It's a small community, but it's thriving. And recently, in the past few years, we have like fully vegan restaurants now in Malaysia. So yeah.
That's really cool. So you say veganism is not as popular as vegetarianism. So what are they eating? I mean, I didn't think that dairy was that popular in those parts of the world.
I think because I live in the city, and it's very trendy. So they do like they do like Western food. In fact, when I first started teaching, everybody just wanted to learn how to make kale chips and chocolate brownies and granola bowls and all that. No one was. I wanted to focus on Asian food because I love Asian food, and I felt like there was not that many raw vegan Asian books out there, and then there are no courses out there on how to make it and all that. So I wanted to use the techniques that I learned to make raw vegan food, like like your zoodles and all that, and then apply it to my Asian food. But when I first started doing classes, people in Malaysia, they always wanted like, can you do Italian? Can you do yeah, they actually prefer the Western cooking somehow. Yeah.
What kind of food did you grow up eating?
Mainly Chinese food. Actually, I'm of Chinese descent, so I'm Malaysian but of Chinese descent. So we would just eat. There will be rice, and there's always soup because my mom would like to have soup. And then there'll be a veggie, like a stir-fried veggie, and then maybe a steamed fish, and then maybe like a braised chicken or something like that. Yeah. So we did eat a lot of vegetables actually.
Well, compared to what most Americans eat, that's still pretty healthy.
That's the thing. I used to think that I and my family used to pride ourselves on eating really healthy food. And then when I became raw vegan, I was like, oh, that's not so healthy after all. But then healthy is a spectrum, right? So yeah, compared to maybe my friends who are eating McDonald's all the time, or eating out and deep fried stuff and all that, then that wouldn't be, yeah, my typical diet then would be considered healthy. Yeah.
Have any of your friends or family joined you on your healthy journey?
I have students who have who have become raw vegan or include much more raw in their in their lifestyle and all that. after following me. My family, my immediate family would be like my mom and my sis, not so much. They don't. I was just talking to Nate yesterday, and I said sometimes I think I find it's harder to persuade or inspire family members rather than strangers. However, they do enjoy some of my raw food creations. If it's things like, I mean, raw desserts always please everyone, so they love that. They love my ice creams, my raw cakes. They enjoy the raw crackers and the raw crackers and the chips and all that. So things that are slightly more accessible, they like it. Yeah, if it comes to like cauliflower rice or or noodles, maybe not so much. Yeah.
Well, everybody loves a dessert. What you mentioned, you generally your first two meals of the day are raw. What are those meals?
Oh, so no, my breakfast and my dinner is usually raw. So breakfast, I usually have a green smoothie or a raw granola or yeah, or sometimes just fruits. Dinner these days I just tend to mono meal. So I just yeah, maybe like a huge papaya or a pineapple or whatever local fruits I can get actually. Yeah.
What about, do you eat greens?
I do. So so sometimes in the morning, like I say, sometimes I make green smoothies, or during lunch, I always have my greens as well. I sprout as well. So I have my yeah, I have my green lentils sprouting here. I don't know whether you can see that. And then I have mung bean sprouts, chia sprouts. Yeah, and I do a lot of ferments as well. So I love eating fermented food. So I have that with my yeah, with my lunches every day. So I make kimchi, yeah, kimchi, sauerkraut, like anything that's lacto fermented, beet kvass. And I also include some seaweed as well in my lunches as well. Yeah.
Nice, nice. I didn't realize that Matthew Kenny had a school in Thailand. Does he still have that?
No, it's closed. Yeah, I think it was just there for 1 year and then it's closed. Although I heard that they are opening up something raw next year in 2022. Yeah, they're in the process of doing that. Because I took another one of his courses this year. Now it's called Food Future Institute. So I took one of the courses. That's not raw, it's mainly cooked and there's like one or two raw components. But I tend to, because I want to keep up with what's happening in the vegan culinary world. So I've been from 2015 until now, every year I've been taking different courses just to widen my horizon, learn from chefs, and just keep up to date.
That's fantastic. What do you do on a daily basis for your work?
So see, previously, before all this craziness started, I used to travel the world and teach people how to make raw vegan raw vegan food. So actually, like last year, I was supposed to be in Australia to present at the Perth Vegan Expo. I was supposed to be in Singapore for the Singapore Vegan Festival. I was supposed to be in Macau and Hong Kong and Italy and Portugal, and everything just got cancelled. So now what I'm doing is what I started, I think last year in April, I started doing online courses instead. Initially, it was live online courses. So I taught how to make tempeh, I taught how to make cheese. And then I found it a bit stressful having to do something live because I'm not sure about you, but for me, if I teach in person, there's a lot of nice exchange of energy, so it's a lot of fun. But when you teach online, it's hard to feel that energy over over Zoom or what. So now I'm just pre-recording all my lessons and I release one new course a month. So I also have some ebooks, and I also do some recipe development as well. And I'm also an ambassador for superfoods. So yeah, and I have a membership service as well, a monthly membership service, which I offer the courses earlier, 1 month before I release it to the public. So yeah, that's what I do.
That's cool. You did a TED Talk. How was that for you? Did you enjoy doing that? And how did that come to be? Tell us. I watched it. Tell the audience about it.
Thank you so much for watching my TED Talk. So again, now I look back, I'm like, oh, this is kind of funny as well because in 2016, I was still a very new chef. yeah, in 2016, I attended this. Oh, my boyfriend was invited to do a TED talk. So he's a jazz musician. So he was invited to do the TEDx talk. And so I accompanied him, and then I was watching him on stage and all that. And I was going like, hey, I want to do one of these things too. So I put it up on one of my goals, and I visualized it, and I just put it out there to the universe that I wanted to do that. And then I know and then I realized that because I'm not exactly a natural public speaker. I think most people are not. They need to practice. So I started practicing speaking as much as I could, and I started doing videos on my own so that I would be comfortable speaking. And then 2 years later, after I put out, that intention, I got an email saying like, "Hi, you're Chef Yin. We would like to invite you to speak. Will you, will you be interested?" And I was like, "Yes, I have been waiting for this moment." So so I prepared for that. I practiced it. I did some trial practice talks at like smaller workshops in Malaysia, and then after that, I did it. So it was great. I remember walking on that stage. I was going like, "Oh my god, this is my moment to tell the world about raw vegan food."
That's so cool. Ridwana wants to know, are your recipes part of the raw vegan bundle that we're offering all this week for $50 for over $3,200 worth of ebooks and courses?
Yes, that's right. So I have written a brand new ebook, and it's called Fun with Asian Raw Food 3, because I wrote one in 2019, and then I wrote Fun with Asian Raw Food 2 in 2020. And so this year was the perfect time to come up with a new one with brand new recipes. There's a lot of Malaysian recipes there, and also recipes that have a lot of Asian influence. So there's influences from Thailand, like today's tom yum soup. There's Indian, there's a bit of Japanese, but basically all my favorite dishes that I love to eat, I've made them raw vegan. So yes, it is part of the bundle.
That's great. And Mandy wants to know, do you add salt to your kimchi that you make?
Yes, I do. When I learned how to make kimchi, I think at Matthew Kenny we've always used salt, so I've used that as well. I know that in the bundle, in the holiday collection ebook, Jiangsu has salt-free kimchi, which I want to try. I just haven't gotten around to doing it yet. So yeah, I actually want to make salt-free kimchi with celery or celery salt, but that's just something that I haven't done yet. I've heard about it before, but because I'm not salt-free, so that's why I do I've still used that. But yeah, I should try out Jiangsu's recipe in the bundle, in the holiday ebook.
That's great. Stephanie says, do you have a YouTube channel where people could watch you doing food demos?
Oh yes, so I'm on YouTube at Raw Chef Yin. So I have two kinds of videos on demos. I have one that is already pre-recorded. So those are the short videos, like 3 to 5 videos. Because I used to have this show called Delicious with Raw Chef Yin, and I think that went on for 6 seasons. So there are many recipes there. If not, I also do live streams on YouTube. I do live streams on Facebook, which I put onto my YouTube channel as well. So those are slightly longer videos, like half an hour, 20 minutes or half an hour or 45 minutes. So yeah, I do have a YouTube channel. Check me out there as well.
Very nice. So tom yum soup, what is it traditionally, and then what is it in the raw vegan world?
Okay, so tom yum soup is something that I love having whenever I go to a Thai restaurant. So I thought I will make that. And actually, the basis of it, the ingredients that I'm using are actually very similar to the traditional ingredients, except that I'm just using raw food techniques to make it. So instead of boiling, I'm just going to blend it, and I'm also going to talk about straining. So this is something that I don't see many chefs doing. I do see some chefs doing it, but not a lot. And I thought this would be very interesting to show this method as well. And then instead of having meat in the soup, I'm just changed it out. I put more vegetables, and I've used mushrooms as well. Yeah.
Great.
So,
would you like to? I'd love to see.
Yeah. So So let's get started. The way I have structured this recipe is to have the ingredients in three components. So the first part is to make the broth or the soup. And then the first two parts, so there's ingredients A, ingredients B, and then the third one is just all the the vegetables and the mushrooms that go in. I just want to and then just one prep that I wanted to show you was to add more umami into the soup. I'm actually using dried shiitake mushrooms. In Malaysia, traditionally the dried shiitake mushrooms are actually sun-dried, so they will be considered raw. But now I don't know about nowadays, but previously during my grandmother's days, we used to just sun-dry them. So what I'm going to do is I have the shiitake mushroom as well as white peppercorn. So I'm just going to put this into the Vitamix first and kind of pulverize it. And then after that, we'll move on to the rest. But I thought I'll just show you instead of, prepping that in advance. The other thing is I wanted to say something about white peppercorn, because I know in Western cuisine, you use more of black peppercorn, but in Asian food, we use a lot of white peppercorn. And it's interesting because white pepper and black pepper is actually the same plant. It's the same berry. Yeah. But it's just the process of how they make it. White pepper is actually the berries that are picked at the full ripeness, and then they soak it in the water to ferment, and then the outer layer is removed. So the taste is slightly more earthy and musky, whereas the black peppercorns, they are actually the unripe berries. So I thought that was just like a fun fact to know.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Okay. So if you can get white peppercorns, that would be good. But if you can't, it's okay to use black as well. But yeah, let me just. Okay. I mean, I could have used a separate meal attachment to do it, but I thought, I'll just do everything in the Vitamix so that I don't need to wash it. So let me just set that aside. This is going into my ingredients B. Yeah. Okay. So now I'm going to make the soup. The first thing is I'm going to blend some of the ingredients, and I'll just talk through what the ingredients are. I'm using filtered water. Okay, 2 cups of filtered water. And then I will use, I also wanted to show you the cutting of the lemongrass actually. I'm going to use lemongrass. I don't know is it easy to get lemongrass where you are?
Well, we get it not always in regular stores, but always in the ethnic markets for sure. It's not hard to get.
Yeah. Is it does it come like this?
Yeah, that's how I've seen it, is long like that.
Okay, great. Because when I was in London to do 2 workshops, and then when I asked for lemongrass, my friend got it for me. It was in a bottle and was all cut up already. And I was like, oh, perfect. I don't need to cut this, but it's not fresh. But yeah, so I just wanted to show those who have never used it before. This is a bit dry though, but yeah, anyway, what we usually do in Malaysia is we take out the first 2 layers because it's very tough. Yeah. So you don't want to use that. And also it's usually not very clean as well. So you take that out. And then, so you're left with this. In traditional, because we use a lot of lemongrass in Malay cooking as well, usually people just use and in the recipes, you would see people say use the white bits only. So they usually use like maybe the first 3 inches or the first part, because this is where a lot of the flavor is. And also because if you use anything more than this, it's a bit fibrous. But I'm going to be using most of it because I'm not going to put this in the actual soup itself. I'm going to strain it out. So, and I find like there's still a lot of lemongrass oil and lemongrass essence there. So I'm just going to chop that up very quickly. Yeah, I've chopped one already, but so you want to cut away this bit because you don't want to use it. You just want to kind of use these and then just slice them finely. Yeah.
I'm guessing, well, at least not American Thanksgiving is celebrated in Malaysia, right? That's not a holiday there.
I don't celebrate it, but I'm trying to think. You know what? I have actually been for a Thanksgiving dinner in Malaysia, but that was because it was from, the person who was throwing it is actually, I think, from the US, and she missed it, so she wanted to have Thanksgiving. Yeah.
I'm just curious, as a raw vegan, what do you make like for holidays, and what are your holidays? Do you celebrate Christmas, for example? What holidays do you celebrate?
Oh, we do celebrate Christmas. We celebrate Chinese New Year. We celebrate because we're very diverse. So we have like three main races. So yeah, there's definitely Christmas, Chinese New Year, Hari Raya for the Malays, and then Deepavali, Thaipusam. So there are a lot of celebrations going on because there's so many different races. Yeah.
What kind of foods do you make for holidays?
I depending on my mood, it's very weird. Now that you talk about Thanksgiving, I remember last year, Thanksgiving, I asked my boyfriend, I said, what do you want for Thanksgiving? I thought we should just make something for the fun of it. And he said bibimbap. So I made raw vegan bibimbap.
Oh, wow. I've had bibimbap. It's very good. I've never had it raw, though. That sounds really intriguing.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah. Oh, I just wanted to say, so the remainder of the lemongrass, you can keep this and make this use this as lemongrass tea. Or what I do, I just cut it up and I just infuse it in my water, so I have like a lemongrass flavor in the water itself, so you don't have to throw that bit away. So okay, I'm putting in the lemongrass, and then the other thing I want to put in is the galangal. So that's very Thai as well. I've chopped it up already. I don't know how many people are familiar with galangal, but I think you can get it in the Asian marts that I think. So it's closely related to ginger and turmeric, but it is not ginger. So if you want the authentic Thai taste, you should get that. So I'm putting that in. So all these are what people use in tom yum anyway. And then the other thing is coriander root, or I guess you call it cilantro, right? Where you are. Yeah, so these are just the roots. These are just the roots of the cilantro or the coriander plant. Yeah. Sometimes some of my usual supplier, he always gives it to me with the root, but not everybody cooks with the root. But in Thai cooking, they always use the root because that's the part that is most flavorsome, and it actually is very in terms of nutrition, the nutrition is there as well. So I'm using that. So just the root. And then the other thing is I'm putting in the kaffir lime leaf, or it's also known as the makrut lime leaf. We always call it kaffir lime leaf in Malaysia, although someone pointed out that it might be it's not politically correct. So the other thing is to call it makrut lime leaf. So I'm putting that in. I've torn up some of it. So what I do is I usually just pare it, because I find if you cut it, you don't get the essence, because this smells really good if you can get it. I know you can get it frozen. I've seen it like, frozen in the Asian marts as well. So that goes in. Yeah. So let me see. So we have the water, the lemongrass, the galangal, the makrut lime leaves, and the coriander roots. What we're going to do now is to blend it up. So instead, this whole process is, instead of cooking this to get the essence of all those tom yum flavors, we're just going to blend it, and the blending will pull out those flavors as well. Okay. And now what I need to do is to strain it. So yeah, Christmas. You were asking what do I have at Christmas?
Yeah, what do you make for Christmas? What do you eat for Christmas? What's your favorite meal, holiday or no holiday?
Do you know last year I actually made a raw vegan beet Wellington?
That's amazing. I can't even imagine that.
It was a long process, but I was so determined because I think I saw Gordon Ramsay make a beef Wellington, right? I mean, a cooked one. So I was like, oh, I can make a raw vegan one. Because you just need to make like raw vegan pastry and the raw vegan duxelle with the with the mushrooms, and then and then use the beets and flavor it and all that. So that was fun, and I made a huge one, so I had it for many days. Yeah, I think I did a raw vegan meatloaf as well. Eggnog, well, not eggnog, coconut nog, and I made some cranberry sauce. Yeah, cheese. So a lot of things. I think, in fact, I feel like if it's Western food, raw vegan is easier. I think for Asian it's slightly harder because the textures are slightly harder to get. Yeah, like it's hard to make like a raw vegan mochi and get that kind of soft spongy flavor. Okay, so now I've strained it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pour this strained one. So this has already all the essence of the kaffir lime leaf, the galangal, the coriander root. I'm going to put that inside here. But what I'm going to do is just go off camera for a while and just kind of clean up my Vitamix.
Okay. If you guys have any questions for me while she's off camera, any questions about the bundle, I'm a contributor to the bundle. There is a beautiful book for the holidays that's the only place it's available, where every contributor, and I believe there's over 50 of us, gave a raw vegan recipe for the holidays. And it's quite beautiful, because if you know who Lissa Maris is from Raw Food Romance, she is an extraordinary recipe developer and food photographer. And she will be on the show on November 1st at 9 a.m. making jalapeno party poppers from her brand new raw vegan book, which is in the bundle, which is called Party Foods. So each chef that we're having on, and we're having on 13 of them during the Raw Food Bundle week, will make something from their book. That's a new book that's in the bundle. So it's over 50 ebooks. Many of the offerings are courses that would cost several hundred to thousands of dollars, like the TED Car Business course, which you get for one low price of $50. And this is all new. If you participate in the bundle in April, these are all new books. So just click the link, check it out, and I think you'll like it.
I like your TV show voice.
I was just being kind of silly. It's late. Yeah, it's not late.
So fun.
It's actually early for you. It's only late for me. Well, but it's 9 a.m. where you are, right?
Yes, that's right. Oh, you know what? I made Lisa's quiche from the holiday ebook. It was really good. Her raw vegan quiche.
Her recipes are so amazing. Her burgers, everything. It's like, I remember like on the last bundle, her book sold for over $50 on Amazon, and that was part of the bundle. So I think people don't realize the depth and breadth of this until they get it, or at least just click on the link to see how many books you're going to get.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Yeah. I mean, you could go through, it could take you 4 years to go through these recipes, one a month.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so the next step is we're going to put in the ingredients B. I'm going to put in some lime juice. I realized that in my recipe, when I developed it, I didn't have any lime juice, so I used lemon, and I realized that lemon is actually milder than lime, so you may want to adjust it accordingly to what you like. I mean, Thai food. Oh yeah, Thai food is always like it's salty, sour, sweet, and spicy, right? And it's basically like kind of like a balance. You need all those flavors, and it kind of mingles and balances out. So you may want to put in less lime, but yeah, so I'm just putting a bit less than the actual recipe that I had given. I'm also going to use soy sauce today to give it the saltiness. So for this recipe, salty, I have actually 3 layers of that. I think you're salt-free, right?
Look, I'm not perfectly salt-free. I just don't cook with salt. I have a few condiments it gets in, but for the most part, I just don't enjoy it. When you don't eat something, you get used to it, and you kind of just don't enjoy salty food anymore.
Yeah. So, but I was going for like a very authentic Thai flavor. So this is what. So the instance of saltiness, I'm going to be using the soy sauce. I'm also going to be using a bit of miso, and then just a pinch of Himalayan salt. I grew up in Asia, and we eat a lot of soy sauce, so I use that in my recipes. But what I do is I make sure that I'm using I'm actually using a local artisanal soy sauce company, so it's naturally brewed. It's very good, high quality ingredients. They don't add in any preservatives, and there's no MSG. But if those who want to be soy free, you can always use coconut aminos. So that's that's an alternative. Or if you want to also, or if you're okay with using tamari or namashoyu, or that, you can use that as well. Yeah. So I'm putting the soy sauce in, and then I'm putting a bit of coconut nectar as well. Or you can use any liquid sweetener of choice, but I just use coconut nectar because it tastes really, really good. And this coconuts are actually local as well. So the coconut's from Malaysia as well. So I try and do, use local ingredients as much as I can. And then, so I'm going to put in, so this is what I have. This is a bit of the miso. I'm using a gluten-free, unpasteurized miso. So if any of you use miso, I would say go for the unpasteurized versions if possible, because then that's where you get the probiotics are still there. There's some red onion and there's some garlic, and then this was remember the shiitake mushroom, the dried shiitake mushroom, and the white pepper that we pulverized, and just a bit of pink Himalayan salt. So that all that goes into the Vitamix.
Is it very easy to find these ingredients where you live, or do you have to order them from somewhere?
Oh yeah, it's really easy because all these ingredients it's everyday ingredients that we use. I mean, Malaysia is right next to Thailand, so in fact a lot of our food has Thai influences as well. We share the same, I want to say we pretty much share the same weather, but then I realized in certain parts of Thailand it's hot. It can get colder than here in Malaysia, but so these are all like typical Southeast Asian ingredients. So yeah, I can get them really easily. And then now I can get everything online. I mean, I used to just get it at the markets and all that, but then because of the restrictions and the lockdowns and all that, I just get everything online now. So okay, I'm just gonna blend it up for the second time. All right. So this is the part where I wish I have a vacuum blender. I think I see, okay, I'm gonna stand up a bit. I see Lisa, they just got their vacuum blender and they're all talking about how great it is. So because this has a lot of bubbles, so I'm just going to remove the bubbles. Yeah. And then we'll taste it as well. Yeah, so if you actually use a vacuum blender, then you don't have all these bubbles. So it's something on my list that I want to get. Just move it. But I was just thinking, like, this is kind of like foam. So if you're doing like fine dining and all that, you can actually incorporate the foam in, in your plating for something else. So that might be quite cool as well. Okay, I'm just going to taste it to see. Ooh, taste the spiciness as well. Interesting.
You seem, they would say it's not right to ask a woman her age, but you seem very young. Have you always wanted to be a chef?
Do you know how old I am? I guess you do, right? Because you saw my
I really don't. I mean, I don't know. I'm 18. You look 18, 14 to 18. I have no idea how old you are, but you look extremely young.
I'm actually 48.
Oh my God. I do not believe that for a minute. Wow. People must mistake you for a college student all the time.
I know. I was just doing a live with Nate, Lisa's husband, and yesterday, and he also did not know that I was 48, and he's just like, wow. So yeah, I always tell people that raw vegan is anti-aging, so. Or at least it stops aging. So
I mean, right there's the reason. Now there's the reason. Maybe I might have believed 30. That's incredible. Yes, Angela, that's what she said. 48. Nobody believes it.
48. Yes, I was born in 1973. Yeah. So No, I wasn't always a chef. I was actually, I actually have a law degree, but I never practiced law. And then I went into public relations. So I was in the corporate world in public relations for 15 years. Then I got tired of the politics and everything. And then I left. And then I was just kind of trying to figure out my mission and passion in life. So I was helping my boyfriend with his music business. I was just I was also doing a bit of writing on the side here and there. So I quit my corporate job in 2012. And then in 2014, that's when I discovered raw food. And then in 2016, that's when I became a raw food chef. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Mhm. Okay, so now the soup is already ready. So we just need to put in the rest of the mushrooms. So I have mushrooms, I have mixed mushrooms, I have some shimeji mushrooms. Yeah, you can just use any mushroom. And then I have some oyster mushrooms that's shredded. In my book, I actually said enoki, but I couldn't get enoki mushrooms. I have some red onions as well. I just find like I've actually cut down a lot on onions. So I find that the onions are a bit pungent and a bit strong for me. So what I did was I just put them into the dehydrator for about an hour just so that it gets softened a bit, because raw onions on its own, I feel it's a bit too strong. I've actually started avoiding onions. It's just that when I create my recipes and my courses, I want to try and keep it authentic, and that's what they use. So yeah. And then I have some baby corn as well. This is way more than the recipe indicated, just because I had a whole packet and I thought I'll just put that in. I also have some tomatoes. So this is non-traditional. It's just I usually use just normal tomatoes, but because I managed to get some heritage, some cherry tomatoes, some heirloom cherry tomatoes. So I'm using that today just because the colors look so beautiful. There's yellow and there's dark red and all that. So we'll put that into, what I'll do is, I'll put that into this bowl. This portion actually is supposed to be for 2 portions. This recipe is for 2 servings. But I'm just going to make 1 serving here. So I'll put the mushrooms in. Yeah, so just a mixture of mushrooms. And then we'll put in some of the corn. And you can mix it up. You don't have to use the same veggies that I'm using. I just use this because I like the color and the taste. And then the tomatoes. Right, and then the onions. I knew I was missing something. I was like, I think there is something missing here. And then I'm gonna pour in the soup. Right. I'm just gonna bring out some of the mushrooms so you can actually see the mushrooms as well. Yeah, there you go.
Do you ever use a dehydrator?
Oh yes, I do. I use the Excalibur dehydrator. When I first started, I was just using one of those, cheap circular dehydrators, and then it's quite funny. There was someone on Facebook who messaged me and said like, Chef Yin, would you like to buy my Excalibur dehydrator? Because he said she bought it, and then her mom, she bought it for her dad, and then it didn't work out, and then she said she's, she wants to get rid of it. So yeah, I bought a pre-loved Excalibur, and I totally love it. It's a 9-tray. Yeah, it's a 9-tray Excalibur. So I'm just going to garnish it with the cilantro or the coriander, it's called. So I'm just chopping it now. So one tip is, if you're going to wash your coriander, make sure you dry it before you chop it, because if not, when it's very wet, it just kind of all sticks to the knife, and then you can't really, you can't really chop it up. So that's what we're doing. And then I realized that in my recipe, I'm not sure why I didn't have, I thought I had put some red chilies, but I'm not sure. So anyway, I'm just going to put in a bit, just like a few slices of red chili. I couldn't get the proper Thai chilies. Oh no, these are the Thai chilies, but these are super hot. But yeah, yeah. So can you see?
That looks amazingly delicious.
Yeah. So there you go. So it's actually not super difficult. And if you prefer to have it, warm, you can always put it in the dehydrator and just warm it up. Or you can always just use like warm water instead of room temperature water. It's just that in Malaysia, it's so hot here. It's mostly, because we live in a tropical country. So I'm so used to having things, at room temperature, and it's fine for me.
So I have a question from Dina. Is Chef Yin familiar with the spice blend amok, and how would she use it? Like curry? ?
No, I'm not familiar, but what's inside the amok?
Dina, maybe you could type what the ingredients are. And what a lot of people are saying they're asking if you dehydrate the mushrooms, because what's been happening a lot all week is we are asking people, or people are asking because some of the doctors say that mushrooms need to be cooked, that you're really not supposed to eat raw mushrooms.
Yeah, I remember that a lot. So when I was in culinary school, we always use raw mushrooms, and a lot of the raw books that I have like I bought loads, and they all use raw mushrooms. But I also have spoken to a doctor, and she said that you should cook it. But then I know that the most recent research, and I think this is what Chris Kendall said on your show recently, and Dr. Greger has come out saying that it's fine to eat the raw mushrooms, and that the previous research, they isolated it and it was tested on rats. And I don't eat huge amounts of mushrooms because I think you need to eat like a whole lot of raw mushrooms before you get those toxic levels as well. So I'm okay with it. I tend to dehydrate my mushrooms sometimes. This one I'm not. It depends on my mood actually. There are certain days when I feel like, oh, maybe I should just blanch my mushrooms. I go with my intuition. If like my gut tells me like, oh, you better cook this first because it might not be, it might not be food safe, then I do. But if not, I'm okay with the raw mushrooms because like I said, check out the video by the latest video. I think the initial video by Dr. Michael Greger, he did say, no, don't eat raw ones. But now apparently the newer research says it's okay. But I guess it really depends on, I would also suggest that people do their own research and then make up their own minds. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's 9 o'clock by you. Have you had your breakfast yet?
I haven't because I'm actually doing this time. I eat within a time window. So I usually eat between 10 in the morning to 6 p.m. I found that my digestion works way better then. So after this, I will be having my breakfast. So I think I'm just going to have a green smoothie.
Nice. Well, so
and then I'll have this for lunch.
Right. I was going to say, you've got to enjoy that. Dina says amok contains lemongrass, kaffir leaf, paprika, galangal, finger root, and curcumin.
Finger root. That's used a lot in Vietnamese food, actually. Yeah. That sounds really good. I think if you turn it into kind of like a spice base, that'll be really nice to flavor the mushrooms or just flavor your vegetables. Or you could use it as a soup as well, and as a curry as well. Yeah.
Layla wants to know, what do you do for exercise?
Okay, so nowadays I do qigong. Previously many years ago I used to run. I think from 2008 to 2012 I used to do road runs. So I used to do 5K runs, 10K runs, half marathons. But then what happened was I tore my hamstring, and it was a huge tear. And even though I went for physiotherapy and all that, it didn't heal. It didn't properly heal. So when I go running or swimming or hiking, I still feel the pain. So I stopped, and then I started doing qigong, which is a Chinese movement practice based on energy and breath. And that's so much gentler. So I do that every morning. I used to go for classes last time when there wasn't a pandemic. But now my teacher teaches us, she does classes every morning. So I just join those classes every morning. So,
nice.
Yeah, that's
and
my exercise.
Ridwana says, what do you like to put in your green smoothies?
Actually, I just put Okay, so my greens, I try and rotate my greens, and I try to use greens that are local, so locally grown. And so I have spinach, sometimes I have bak choy, I have kailan. Um, um, I'm not a huge fan of kale just because I find that I like kale and I do use it a lot. I just find that in Malaysia we have so many other leafy greens that we don't necessarily need to worship kale. Yeah, that's what it is, because I know like a lot of people in Malaysia, they're always asking me for kale recipes, and then when I use some other green, they're like, oh, can we use kale instead? I'm like, yeah, sure you can, but why not use what we have locally, which is mm, yeah, which is cheaper, which is more abundant, and it's local, you see. So I put that in my I have a leafy green. I love bananas, and we have so much local bananas here, so I always have bananas. If it's very simple, it'll just be like a leafy green, banana, some coconut water, and a superfood. It really depends on how I want to play up with it. Sometimes I use pineapples, sometimes I use mangoes, depending on what I have yeah, for that week. And yeah,
Do
that's
you
what
have any
I usually
farmers
do.
markets where you shop, or do you grow any of your own food?
So I used to go to yeah, I used to go to a farmer's market previously. And they also had they used to have weekly farmers markets. And then there was this other uh this other place that once a month, I think it was, I was trying to remember what it's called. I know it's a community thing. So once a month they host farmers coming down once a month to just yeah, to sell their produce, their organic produce. Yeah, it was an organic one. So I used to go there as well, but now everything has just changed. So I order everything online. Yeah, because we just started opening up. Before this, we've been in lockdown after lockdown after lockdown. So things have changed a lot.
So in case somebody tuned in late, tell us about what book you contributed to the Ultimate Raw Vegan Bundle.
Okay, so my ebook is called Fun with Asian Raw Food 3. There are dishes, so it's all Asian, very much focused on Malaysian food, but there are also influences from India, from Thailand, from Japan, from China. And it's so there's some rice dishes, there's some noodle dishes, there is this soup. There's also some snacks, there's also some desserts. So yeah, it's very nice all rounded, and I just wanted to present Asian food in a raw vegan way.
Well, I think you do it an amazing way. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure getting to know
Thank
you.
you.
So we have everything that you wrote in the show notes, which if you're watching on YouTube is right below the video. If you're on Facebook, you'll have to come to YouTube to see that. But where do you prefer to connect with people? Sometimes people like Instagram or Facebook. Where do you like people to follow you?
Oh, okay. So I'm on Instagram and Facebook, both at Raw Chef Yin, so that those would be the best places to look for me. I also write a daily e-newsletter, so if anyone's interested in that, they can check that out. It's on my links on Instagram as well. So yeah.
And can they also
go
find
there.
out about your courses there as well?
Yes, they can. Yeah.
Well, great. Well, you're great. I mean, man, 48, no way. You look amazing. Nobody would have ever guessed. You should get a t-shirt that says, this is what 48 looks like when you're raw vegan.
I should, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it's just been an absolute delight. Thank you so much, Raw Chef Yin. This was a wonderful presentation.
Thank you so much, Chef AJ. It's been great.
Absolutely. And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. We have another amazing raw vegan chef tomorrow, Danielle Arsenault, and she is going to be making 3 recipes. She's going to be making next level flavor bomb sauces to transform your food: garlic flavor bomb sauce, mango Congo hot sauce, which I cannot wait for. I love hot sauce, and a fermented cashew cheese. The show will be back at its regular time tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific time. And please do check out the Raw Food Bundle, because if you wait until it's gone, you'll be really sad. These are all new books, and this will be the only time you can get it. And these will be fantastic recipes for the holidays. Even if you're not raw vegan, we all need to eat a little bit more raw food. And these are such beautiful books and courses that will make it delicious. Thanks again, Raw Chef Yin. Enjoy your delicious soup lunch for sure.
Thank you.